This is the Smart Scoop by Sage, and this is the ICE100 Cuisinart. They are both ice cream machines. And ever since I reviewed this one on the channel a couple of years ago, people keep asking me, but what about the Cuisinart? These two always come up together in comparisons and taste tests and when you start shopping for these kind of machines. But which is better? Let's take a look. From a top-down perspective, both these machines make ice cream and gelato and sorbet in the same way. They both are a certain size. You can see the relative size differences of them. I would say the Sage is slightly larger, but is designed to go across your worktop. The Cuisinart is designed to go lengthways on your worktop, but there wouldn't be a problem using them the other way around. It's just how they're designed. They both have a compressor inside. What does that mean? Well, some ice cream machines, cheaper ice cream machines, you put the bowl in the freezer and leave it there for a little while. When you're ready to go, after a couple of hours, pop that into your machine with your mixture and let it do its thing. These machines contain a compressor, which means it is cooling all the time. It's like having a mini refrigerator freezer inside both of these machines, doing the work of cooling it down. From a functional perspective, they both do the same job. They both make a range of frozen desserts, from ice cream through gelato, sorbets, granitas, that sort of thing. They both do the same job, functionally speaking. They exist in the same space. They'd be on the same shelf of your shop. When you start looking at the prices, the Cuisinart is around the £250 mark. Shop around, you'll find it all over that place. Again, with the Smart Scoop, you'll find it around the £350 mark. There's around £100 difference. Again, you can shop around and find various discounts and bargains. I've been using the Smart Scoop for around 9 years, and full disclosure, it was a gift from Sage at the time, with no compulsion to say anything positive about it at all. I've gone on record many times to saying it's an excellent machine. I cannot count the amount of times I've used it. I've probably used it 12 times in the past 2 months with some very warm weather we've had in the UK. But I'm often bringing it out for parties. When people come, when I visit people, I always like to take some ice cream. It always goes down well. So I've really put this machine through its paces. I've borrowed this from a friend to give it a test because people in the comments of this review are always asking me about this Cuisinart machine. Cuisinart? 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 I don't know. Cuisinart will settle on. They both have a similar aesthetic. They've got the stainless brushed steel going on. The Cuisinart has a slightly more plastic finish on the sides, but so what. Very, very functional design on the controls. Power, timer, start, stop, and that's all you do. Turn it on, add your mixture, press timer until you've got it to the right time for you, press start, and you're away. The Sage functionality, it has a manual mode where it behaves like that, but most of the time I will use it in auto, whereby you will use the dial to set the hardness of the mixture you're making, from sorbet to gelato to ice cream, and set that firmness with an actually very pleasing dial to use. And then, judging by the torque, the resistance on the dasher on the paddle, it will stop when it feels that resistance. So it's kind of churning and then stopping when it feels it's churned to the right consistency. The Cuisinart, you've got to manually go in yourself unless it's already hit its timeout. So they've got slightly different things going on. Sage has slightly smarter technology, slightly better aesthetics on the controls. The Sage also has a dedicated pre-cool function so that you can get it cooling down beforehand, though arguably you could just get the Cuisinart on and press and get it going before it starts anyway. The difference is this won't start the dasher moving. Out of the box, you don't get anything special with either of them. You get this, you get an instruction manual. The Cuisinart has two different dasher blades, one for ice creams and one for gelatos. The Sage, you just get the single dasher. When it comes to the instruction booklets, the Cuisinart one is extremely functional, with lots of details about the warranty and safety instructions, and very little on how to actually use the machine. Meanwhile, the Smart Scoops is quite a bit more detailed, talking through every single feature of the machine, how each of the buttons work, exactly how to use it, and a whole raft of recipes. Plus, the book I got at the time was another separate book on the science of ice cream. I don't think they package that with it anymore. suffice to say, a bit more care and attention put into the manual, which doesn't sound like much, but I like those touches when you're spending a lot on a device, that they take the time to really talk you through how it works and how to get the best out of it. On to tiny little details. Well, they're roughly the same size, although the Cuisinart is probably slightly smaller. I'll pop those dimensions on the screen on a graphic now so you can compare for yourself if you need the counter space. There's no getting away from it, they are large. They are also fairly noisy machines. They've got that compressor inside and that's making a generating whirring noise, and that can be quite frustrating. I've also measured the sound of both of these devices and I'll pop the readings up here. As you can see, neither of them are particularly quiet, and it's generally too loud to get on with other stuff, I find personally. So if you've got a garage or a spare room that you can pop it in to churn away by itself and shut the door, you'll thank yourself for it. Not unbearable, just a bit annoying. I find the lid on the Cuisinart a bit weird. It only locks a certain way and it's quite fiddly. There's all sorts of arrows on the Sage machine to let you know exactly how to lock that in place. Small details, but they matter. It's the same with the lid. Has no gap here for adding in extra bits like biscuits and fruit and nuts. On the Sage, has a little floppy lid that pops out. Other little design features, and I always like, and now, you know, full disclosure, there's loads of reviews for Sage gadgets on this site. I love Sage gadgets, though I will call them out when they've done terrible design decisions, like this and this. But those beside, I have a little bias towards them. You'll see machines behind me of every video that are Sage. I just like their stuff. And I like the way they design things. For example, this machine has a retractable cord, so I can zip it away. It's not all messy cord all over the counter. The display itself is really attractive. It also, silly little things, when it's finished, plays a little tune like an ice cream van. Alright, it's not the biggest thing in the world, but I liked it. It made me laugh. And it still makes me laugh, and I love it when I hear it. It's just a bit more user-friendly. With the Cuisinart, it's just like, chuck it in, set, forget. So, how do they make ice cream? Well, here's a large batch of brown butter condensed milk based ice cream that I'll put up here soon. I made a large batch. They both make about 1.5 litres of ice cream, so I split the mixture equally and I churn them for both the same amount of time in both machines, about 50 minutes in this case. I then froze them for a couple of hours before sampling, and there is no perceptible difference. I've used the same base obviously, and then the machines I've used the same way. So using both machines, they both produce the same product. How will it last over time? I can't really talk to that. Obviously this is still going 9 years later. The Cuisinart, a friend of mine's probably used about 12 times over a couple of years. And they both come with decent warranties. They vary by region, so check the website of your manufacturer. Again, worth mentioning that Sage also goes by the name Breville elsewhere in the world, marketed as Sage in the UK. So they produce identical results. They produce identical ice cream. So how do you choose? Well, it comes down to small things of features. As I said before, the Cuisinart is about £250, give or take, at time of recording. The Smart Scoop, about £350. So there's about £100 different, not insignificant. So I think this machine is designed better, and your ability to control the softness and hardness manually is quite literally very cool. It will tell you the temperature that you're operating at. Not essential, but I like it. The Cuisinart is very bare bones. Pop your stuff in, press timer, press start, and then you go in and check every now and again, see if it's done to your consistency. I recommend pausing the machine, getting a spoon, just lifting a little chunk of your ice cream mix out and seeing if it's feeling right. I would always then transfer it to the freezer to finish setting fully. And I hate to say this at the end of a review video, it's really down to you. This machine is more expensive. Personally speaking, I like the design details and I like the extra small features that you get with the machine, but they're both turning out pretty identical product. If I had an issue and I had to replace an ice cream machine in my life, I'd replace it with the Sage. I just would. I just like the way they build things. I like the extra qualities that this machine has. The Cuisinart produces perfectly good ice cream, perfectly good. So you wouldn't go far wrong if you picked this machine. Though, as you can hear, I'm leaning towards this one. But it wouldn't be a problem if you went for this one instead. Links for both are downstairs in the description. They are both links to Amazon. If you purchase through there, it doesn't cost you any extra, but I get a little kickback commission for sending you Amazon's way. What do you think? Do you own either of these machines? Do you own a different ice cream machine? What do you do in it and what do you make of it? Let me know in the comments down below. Check out some other kitchen gadgets reviews and I'll catch you next time.